right. So, hi. My name is Kisaki Nakatsukasa, and I am the person behind Taiga Japanese Terriers. And I'm also currently the only person actively involved in the Japanese Terriers in the United States. So, very excited to share about these guys. So I guess a little bit about me. I was born and grew up in Japan, and while I was there, I have never seen or even heard of anyone who owns or used to own a Japanese Terrier. And I lived in one of the major cities, so I think that kind of tells you how rare these guys are. And as the name suggests, they are from Japan, and you rarely see them around. As far as my experience go with them at the time, I've seen them a few times in dog breed books, and I would, kind of research random dog breeds for fun when I was younger, and the Japanese Terriers were one of them, but not too much, hands-on experience with them at the time. But my family has always been a dog-centered household. And growing up, we had many breeds of all kinds, from Chihuahuas to the Bernese Mountain Dogs. However, my family wasn't the biggest fan of Terriers, but I did like the Terriers. And so when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I was allowed to get my first own dog that I was solely responsible for. And I was interested in the Terriers, but I did have to kind of compromise, and I ended up with a Dachshund. They're different, but in a way slightly similar to Terriers, with like the stubbornness and the spicy kind of big dog in a small dog body kind of way. And, I absolutely love this girl and the breed, and I definitely saw myself continuing with the Dachshund, actually. But unfortunately, I lost her from an accident, and I just kind of couldn't bring myself to own another one. And then at the time, I was a little more older, and I just kind of randomly ended up at a local pet event. And at that event, I met my first American hairless Terriers in person, and absolutely fell in love with them. And later on, ended up with my own. And then I still could plan on continuing with this breed, and I was actually kind of slowly looking into breeders and other options to continue with the hairless. But then I found out that there's a Japanese Terrier available in Japan, close to where I'm from, and definitely had my doubts with the lack of hands-on experience with them. But, did more research, talked to the breeder there, and everything just kind of worked out. And I ended up flying to Japan and back to the U.S. with this little Japanese Terrier. And then, as I got to spend more time with him, I did see a lot of similarities as well as differences with the hairless Terrier. And just, I just love spending time with this guy. He's such a smart and active guy. And I was looking into the population and a little more information on the breed in the U.S., only to find out that they pretty much don't exist here. And this definitely made me sad, because they are such an amazing breed with the right people. And I think this was kind of my starting point to kind of help establish the breed here in the U.S. And so as my first big step, I wanted them to get accepted in the American Kennel Club Foundation Stock Service. So, and the FSS program is a program for rare purebred breeds in America to develop so they can later on be fully recognized. And so I sent in all the required documents to AKC, and they were finally accepted in 2020 of October, so almost exactly a year now since they were accepted. And so this means, the Japanese Terriers can compete in all breed-appropriate sports with the AKC and get recorded with them. And so, my project has, just started. I've got a long way to go with getting the breed more out there, but definitely excited and interested to see where we would be in, say, the next 10, 20, 30 years. So they were first recognized by the Japan Kennel Club in 1930. And the creation of their breed isn't as clear. So as far as we know, the smooth fox terrier from the Netherlands came to Japan in the Nagasaki port. And this smooth fox terrier bred with an Italian greyhound, and some sort of other like native Japanese dogs, creating a mixture of today's smooth fox terrier and today's Japanese terrier in a way. And then over time, the fancier of this breed that was called the Kobe Terriers at the time. Kobe is like the location of where all this was happening. And they were pretty well known. They were kind of like the first terrier to be kind of originating in Japan. So they were pretty well known. And then just kind of over time, these Kobe Terriers were bred with the Manchester Terrier, the Toy Bull Terrier, and as well as other native Japanese dogs. And then just kind of later on, just kind of created this the Japanese Terriers. So yeah, they are one of the small terriers. They're usually around 10 to 13 inches or 30 to 33 centimeters. Most are around 10 to 15 pounds or 4 to 7 kilograms. And so yeah, they're small dogs, but definitely don't let the size fool you, because they've got big attitudes with no issue keeping up with the big guys. So very, very tough dogs. So the main purpose was to be a small watchdog. And it's a little unique when compared to other terriers. They've got great senses. They really don't miss a thing. And so they were mainly used as a watchdog, but they have in the past been used as for vermin hunting. But overall speaking, mainly as a watchdog. So they're generally very alert and cautious of their surroundings and aloof with strangers. So I think when you first see a Japanese Terrier for the first time, you'll probably notice the funny pattern with the black head and the white body. And this specific pattern is called Menkaburi Donuke in Japanese, which translates to masked head, naked body. And this pattern is the most popular and the most traditional marking of this breed, and really what makes a Japanese Terrier a Japanese Terrier. And ever since the very beginning, this pattern and their overall appearance has always been said to be the most important, or the it factor of the breed. And in addition to this pattern, they also come in more patterns like Hinomaru, Odome, or Chaboke. Hinomaru pattern actually represents the Japan flag, where the dog has the Menkaburi Donuke marking, but with a black circle on their back, so it kind of looks like a Japanese flag. And then the Odome, kind of similar, but instead of the black marking on the back, it's on the rear end. And these patterns are actually considered to be better than the traditional Menkaburi Donuke, and it's not something you specifically can breed for. It has been tried in the past without much success. So, and genetics is just a funny thing. So these patterns just kind of pop up randomly. So pretty rare and uncommon in the breed. And then Chaboke is also another one where instead of a black face, the dog's face is mostly brown or tan. And this is actually not considered to be the best because it affects the overall expression of the dog. And in some lines today, Chaboke is pretty common, and it's a little controversial topic in the breed. Some say it's completely bad. Some are kind of okay with it. And personally, I'm more of the not so okay with the Chaboke, just because they look so different with the appearance and the overall expression of the breed. So that's definitely something I would want to work on and kind of breed out of. And then, and as far as the patterns go, the breed comes in a mixture of all those patterns I mentioned earlier. So, some will have extra black on their body, extra white on their head, and so on. And so when breeding, the one with the good patterns will definitely be favored, but you definitely also want to keep the structure and the temperament in mind, of course. And just not completely get rid of the dog with a slightly off pattern. So that's something to keep in mind of. And then if you keep breeding the dog with the Menkavi Donake markings, the white tends to overrun the black, and there's been a number of dogs where the dog came out to be all white, which is not good. So far, the all white hasn't been connected to like any deafness or blindness or anything like that, but looking at the standard, it's the all whites aren't the best. And today, a lot of dogs tend to have non-straight front legs, so their paws would be kind of facing outwards, which is a big problem in the breed. And not a lot of people are kind of working on it per se. So that's definitely something I would personally want to work on as well. And kind of brings me to the next point of their coat. In addition to the patterns, another thing that's very unique about them is their coat and the length. They have a very, very short coat that's around 1 millimeter to 3-4 millimeters. So it's very short, close to being hairless almost. And which is why you see a lot of Japanese Terriers where you can see like the black spots on their body. And it's actually not their pattern or their coat, but it's their skin, with how short and the white the coat is. And so I've, had a number of people comment how soft and velvet-like the coat is. I've also had some people ask if I shave my dog because of just how short it is. And depending on the dog, some dogs are very spotty, or some might not even have any spots and just be all white. So, with them being short-coated dogs, in the winter, they need extra clothes. In the summer, they may need sunscreen or an SPF clothes to protect their skin. So, there's actually one breeder in Japan who's actually working to get the dog's coat longer in length, so that visually it looks a little more better with the non-spotted dogs, but and then to prevent skin sensitivities, because with them being hairless, you do need, or close to being hairless, you do need more protection. And I'm kind of in between personally, because the longer coat dogs visually do look nice, but it's the short coat's always been the thing with the breed for a long time now. So I'm personally kind of in between with the long coat or the standard short coated dogs. So yeah, that's definitely something I'm kind of still working on. And one of the major thing in Japan is the lack of health testing. It's not really, health testing isn't really a thing in Japan. And pretty much no one health tests their dogs. So we have close to zero data on common health issues in this breed. So yeah, it's a little hard to say what's common, what's not common in the breed. But I have seen a few issues with luxating patella, as well as allergies and skin sensitivities. So that's definitely something I'm looking at. And I am pretty much the first and only person to kind of extensively health test this breed. So right now I'm testing for any genetic problems, and for patella and leg calipers disease, which are common in small dogs. And I also test for hips and elbows, just because I have an active household and do a lot of sports with them. So, maybe in the future when I have a little more data, I might be adding more health testing or kind of switch some stuff around. So we'll see, with the data we'll have in the future. But as of now, it's kind of hard to see, what's a major issue in the breed. But generally speaking, I would say just the skin sensitivities or the allergies and the patella issue. So I would say the main issue would be the skin sensitivities and the allergies. It's from what I know, it's pretty common with breeds with a small genetic pool.
Yeah.
With the other native Japanese breeds, I hear this problem a lot, and it's not necessarily something you can like test for, and so that's definitely a big issue in the Japanese Terriers. I know a number of them who are kind of suffering from some sort of skin problems, and so the breeder in Japan that I mentioned is also aware of this issue with the skin sensitivities, and so that's one of the reasons he's breeding for the longer coat, which is very understandable. But then at the same time, that also kind of changes what the Japanese Terrier is with the very short coat that they originally have. So it's a really kind of a funky issue there. So just when they're puppies, just kind of slowly building up their immune system is kind of what you can do as for now. And then making sure to not breed dogs with serious issues, serious skin problems, or serious allergies, because they have been bred before. Those dogs have been bred before, and that genetic problem kind of have been still continuing on and with the dogs today. Personally, I am feeding a raw diet, a pre-made raw diet that's balanced, and that seems to be working well. And some of the breeders in Japan are also giving like goat milk or yogurt to kind of build up their immune system, and that seems to be working pretty well as well. I know some people, some dogs are kind of pretty sensitive to chicken, I noticed, so that might be something you want to stay away from, but I would say a high quality, balanced diet would be the best. So I do a lot of hiking in the winter in the snow, and so I use a lot of winter jackets or coats with them, and that seems to be doing the trick. They can go out in the snow for hours with this jacket, and then in the winter or in the summer, without sunscreen or like some sort of SPF clothes, their skin can get a little red and irritated from the sun and the sunburn. So just, a dog-friendly sunscreen will do the trick. They're better in the summer as far as the temperature goes. They do get cold pretty easily in the winter, so just extra precautions. So temperament-wise, I like to consider them like a mix of terrier and primitive breeds. So, like the terriers, they're great athletes, confident, stubborn, and hard-headed at times, but they are considered terrier-like, meaning they're not as intense as other terrier breeds, so they shouldn't have any sort of aggression. So no dog aggression or same-sex aggression or anything along those lines. So they should do well with other dogs and should do well in a multi-dog household. So in a way, they're like a nice beginner terrier. And then like the primitive breeds, as I mentioned earlier, they're aloof with strangers, independent, and very cautious and alert of their surroundings. So not the kind of dogs to kind of go up to anyone for attention, and are more so indifferent with strangers, and we've got no problem alerting of any strange behaviors. And then they've got a great off switch, so they're not, constantly jumping off the walls or anything like that. And they're very, very smart dogs. They catch things quick, so training is a lot of fun. Trick training, sports training, whatever you and the dog's interested in, they're all games. But as a terrier / primitive breed, they need a reason to do whatever you're asking for. They're not the kind of dogs who want to please you. They only do things because they want to, or because they can get something in return, like food or toys. and most are food motivated, so that definitely helps. But you still do want to keep training sessions interesting and to keep their focus. So yeah, definitely. And so for anyone interested, definitely recommend that they are first and foremost prepared to provide a big amount of socialization. They require socialization more than a lot of other breeds, I think. Without it or enough of it, they will end up nervy and timid, and in some cases aggressive. Mm-hmm. And I know a number of dogs that are like scared of the world, or a few that are aggressive, and that's definitely not something you want to deal with in this breed. So socialization is definitely, by far the most important thing in their puppyhood. Mm-hmm. So that, they're not aggressive or scared of everything and everyone. And then an ideal owner would also be prepared for the stubbornness and the what's in it for me attitude. Mm-hmm. As mentioned, they don't work for you or with you. They only work for themselves. So they need a reason and do whatever you're asking them to do. For example, with my guy, he is one of the most food-driven dogs I've ever met. And so if I have high-value food on me, he's the most biddable dog I know. He will do anything that I ask because he knows he can get the food that he wants. But if I don't have food on me, he could care less about me. So, yeah.
What are some activities that you guys partake in?
Yeah, we do a number of sports, like wheel coursing, barn hunt, agility, conformation, and a lot of hiking and kind of hanging out with other dogs. And they do a great job. They are very do-it-all dogs. I know a number of them in Japan who also do agility and fly ball as well. And they are, they're great athletes. So they're amazing at it.
Do they like water?
So most do not like water. Mm-hmm. Mine hates water, actually. Mm-hmm. And yeah, majority of them do not like water. So anything besides water, they're all games. Yeah, I know a lot of other Japanese dogs that aren't the biggest fan of water. So mm-hmm. Yeah, it might be coming from there.
Does the American Rare Breeds Association, do they recognize the Japanese Terrier?
Yep, they do. Them and United Kennel Club.
Oh, okay.
And IABCA. It's like another smaller venue for rare breeds, mainly for rare breeds. Mm-hmm. And they all recognize them. So, you can, if you're interested in showing, you can show them at the AKC Open shows or any of the other UKC Rare Breed Association shows. Or yeah.
Which has been the best for you to deal with?
So things are pretty limited with this, with as far as show goes in this area, but haven't been able to do the AKC Open shows yet. But mm-hmm. I've had a really great experience with the United Kennel Club. I've been there a few times, and very, very welcoming. And the judges have pretty much never seen a Japanese Terrier in person, or some I've met some that didn't even know what breed it was. So a lot of kind of educating on my side for the judges. A lot of times the judges will ask me what I think about the dog. Mm-hmm. So that's a pretty interesting experience showing him. But yeah, a lot of them are, very welcoming and very interested to learn this rare breed. So yeah, I had one of the, greatest experience with all these shows I go to.
How many Japanese Terriers do you currently own?
So right now, I only have the one, and so he is currently, the first and only ever registered Japanese Terrier in the United States. I was actually had the plan to import another one this summer, but things didn't work out too well. But I'm, constantly in contact with the breeders in Japan. And so if all goes well, hopefully later this year or maybe early next year. This kind of depends on all the COVID restrictions and the dogs. Yeah. The Japan Kennel Club isn't a fan of outcrossing dogs. And the Japanese Terriers, again, they have very small gene pools, and a lot of the breeders in Japan are retiring soon. And, at this rate, it's not looking too good for the breed, unfortunately. And so I personally have kind of briefly thought about a possible outcross project, but it's not supported by the Japan Kennel Club. So going on, I'm not too sure what I want to do yet. But outcrossing is definitely something I have in mind. But the Japan Kennel Club would honestly rather see a breed go extinct than support an outcross project, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Why do you think that is?
They've actually done it before. There was, I can't remember the name, but there was a Japanese breed who desperately needed an outcross project because of the very low numbers, but the Japan Kennel Club will not support it, and the breed actually went extinct. And I think in Japan as a whole, there's purebred breeds are very, very popular. If you go to Japan, most people will own a purebred breed. And I think that's kind of part of the culture and where Japan Kennel Club is coming from. They're not too fond of mixed breeds or mixing purebred breeds on purpose. And I don't know. I think it's just the part of their culture, I guess. Not the biggest fan of mixed breeds. So a lot of purebred dogs are there. In Japan and even outside of Japan, the Japanese Terriers don't actually have an active parent club. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard to, get people together to start this possible outcross project. And so it's going to be a while for it, or if we will even do it. But I've personally, for me, an outcross project for the Japanese Terrier would be to use the Smooth Fox Terrier, which were one of their main foundation breeds, as well as the Manchester Terrier, another one of their foundation breeds. And as mentioned earlier, they really lack. They've got EC Westie paws, so their paws are facing outwards, which is a big problem in this breed. So that's definitely something I would look for with the other breeds who have more wider gene pool with a little more straighter front legs. And then I also, to keep from the Manchester Terriers, to get the colors, the black and tan colors, because there's been a lot of increase in just breeding the black head and the white body, and a lot of them are kind of slowly starting to lose that black and tan color because the white is overriding those colors, unfortunately. And then and all white or mostly white Japanese Terriers aren't really the best per se, according to the breed standard and the breed history. So those would be kind of the main stuff that I would be looking into, and then just helping with the small gene pool that they have, and then the common health issues with the allergies and the skin sensitivities, because a lot of the lines tend to have that. Mm-hmm. So the dog that I was hoping to import sometime this summer, the two litters that I was looking at turned out to be all boys, and I was specifically looking for a female, and then there was another litter that I was interested in a few months ago, but then there was a really nice female, but she unfortunately passed due to some complexity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's been a bit of a struggle, but hopefully there'll be some available, end of the year or next year or anything. I mean, I'm not into a bit of a rush, so I've still got time. And I'm in no rush, so we'll just, wait for the right girl. So, well, they are, as far as their temperament goes, I think it might have sounded like a bit of a challenge and, a pretty unique breed. But I did want to mention that the relationship that you build with these guys, I think, are very special, because you kind of have to work around them or kind of work for them in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the best feeling, like seeing all the training and the time you put into them pay off, because I have some of the best times, training and competing in multiple sports with my guy and just kind of watching him do his stuff. But as a rare breed, they will be some wait time with this breed. There's roughly around 500 to 600 of them left in the world, and then less than 100 of them born and registered each year. Really depends on the year, but I'll say usually around 50 to 80 are born each year. So, it might be a bit of a challenging breed to kind of get into, but I would say it's definitely worth the wait and, worth all the training and time you'll spend on them. Most are located in near Tokyo. There's a city called Chiba, and that's where one of the biggest breeder is located in, and he tends to kind of place a lot of his dogs in that region. So there's actually this one big dog park there, and at that park you would often be able to see at least like 4 or 5 Japanese Terriers. There's a number of regulars there, so yeah, but most of them are like, in the Chiba or the Tokyo region. Mm-hmm. Most are, in Japan.
Right.
And then there's actually around 20 in Europe.
Okay.
And there's a few breeders there, and, they're slowly starting to grow their population in Europe. So most of their dogs are from this one breeder that I actually got my dog from. And, he's a great breeder, but he's actually retiring in like the next 5 years or so. And so they've actually been struggling to find another line, because a lot of their dogs are from the same line, and, they want more diversity. And so we've been kind of getting in touch, and, the biggest hurdle for them is the language barrier, because the breeders in Japan, they only speak Japanese.
Right.
And so it's a big challenge for them. So I've been kind of contacting them here and there, and they actually recently imported a dog from another line, and he actually landed in Europe like a couple weeks ago.
Oh.
So they've finally got a new dog from a completely different line, which is great. And, they're still kind of trying to figure out what they want to do, and kind of build their relationship with the breeders in Japan.
Oh, awesome.
Definitely the American Hairless Terriers. To be honest, I don't think I could pick between the Japanese Terrier and the American Hairless. They're pretty similar in many ways, but also slightly different. And the Hairless Terriers, I've met a few, and all of them have been so great. And the community is also great as well. And, I'm a big fan of rare or uncommon breeds. And these guys, especially the hairless version, are very, eye-catching. And I can't go out without like 100 people stopping us. So definitely the American Hairless Terriers. Generally speaking, they're a pretty healthy breed, and fits my lifestyle really well. Love the community. So yeah, definitely the American Hairless for sure. They are actually from America, and the foundation breed are solely the Rat Terriers. The Rat Terriers actually have like a recessive hairless gene, that just kind of randomly popped up one day. And some people started specifically breeding for the recessive hairless gene, and then, creating, which ultimately created the American Hairless Terrier. So in a way, they're basically just a hairless rat terrier.
Okay.
Yep.
Those are good dogs, rat terriers. What breed of dog that you haven't seen much of or at all interests you, and why?
I have recently been interested in the Brazilian Terrier.
Okay.
I haven't been, I've never seen them in person, but I've seen them, like pictures and videos here and there. And I've also talked to someone that owns the Brazilian Terriers, and from what I'm hearing, they sound pretty similar to the Japanese Terriers, actually, with their temperament, and their appearance looks pretty similar as well. Sometimes if you search Japanese Terriers on Google and you go down, a picture of a Brazilian Terrier will randomly kind of pop up sometimes because they look so similar. So yeah, that's definitely something, another breed that I would be interested in. I've always been more so towards the smaller, medium dog breeds, just because they're so easy to travel. But I would say I might just probably the great Swiss Mountain Dogs. Okay. I used to own them growing up, as long as with the Bernese Mountain Dogs, and they're huge, but very, very gentle, kind of very nice family dogs. So yeah, definitely probably them.
Have you seen any Tosas when you were in Japan?
I have not. I don't think so. They're pretty rare there too. Yeah, they as far as I know, they don't have too much of a good representation, because some of them are still used for dog fighting there, and I know a lot of people in Japan are kind of against it. But and I haven't really seen what's happening in that side of the world. But it'll be really nice to see one in person and kind of interact and see what they're like for sure.